So a friend of mine was helping a restaurant manager do something. He sold him something, and anyways, she goes, "Hang on, let me grab my step ladder." And he really quickly just said, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did you ever know your real ladder?"
Okay, that was bad. We're not using
Yeah,
that. Okay, so AFC playoff matchups, Casey.
I'm
First
sorry. Yeah,
game.
back on track.
First game. The most interesting game, in my opinion. Jacksonville and the Chargers. What are you thinking on Jacksonville and Los Angeles? I'll say. Let's keep it
Yeah.
city oriented.
So I'm gonna try to not be fan biased towards the Southeast or for against Raiders rivals because I am a Raiders fan. But I would say the Jags having home field advantage seems like they've really come on hot lately. Uh, I will. The Chargers have two. Chargers won five of their last seven. So I don't know, but I really like this game. I really like the Jags. I'm super excited that the line opened at 3 and is now down to 1.5 because I think the whole world is seeing. I really expected money to come flowing in on the Chargers, but I think
It's
everybody's starting to see that the Jags are
so is it currently at Jags +3?
plus 1.5 now.
+1.5. Okay, so people are kind of thinking the same thing that I am, and it's moving towards the Jags. Um, I I love the Chargers. I mean, I'm not a Chargers fan. I'm just like I'm a fan of their process thus far. I think they've kind of gotten a little screwed by injuries this year. You know, Mike Williams has missed games, Keenan Allen's missed games, Joey Bosa.
Well,
Uh,
it gets worse. You saw a couple of them got dinged up in Week 18 in a pointless game.
yeah, I know.
People are calling for Staley's job already because I mean you make the playoffs, but you
I,
can't keep Mike Williams healthy. You can't keep Bosa healthy for the most important game, and that's this week against the Jags.
I've also always been a fan of. There's this coach named Kevin Kelly who's like a big advocate of never punting, never kicking, always going for it on fourth down. And Brandon Staley kind of
Yeah.
took that philosophy, and he hasn't done it as much this year, but he's always kind of been that type of coach. And I'm a big believer in that type of thing, so I've always kind of gravitated towards the Chargers. But with
You're
all
a
that,
gambler.
well, I like mathematically sound decisions, and it seems like not punting is a pretty mathematically sound decision. Um,
It's like a 180 man on Poker Stars in 2009. Like
right,
can't lose.
exactly. Yeah,
Full heart.
that's right. Uh, with all that being said, I'm kind of with you, man. There's just something about this Jags team that seems like it's just going to beat the Chargers right now. It seems like Brandon Staley, he's a type of coach that will make advancements in increments. It's like his first year they were just kind of bad. Second year they were right on knocking on the door of the playoffs, but he called a stupid timeout and didn't take the tie against the Raiders and just kind of screwed himself out of a playoff
I
spot.
love that.
And now this year he made the playoffs and he's going to get out in the first round, and then maybe next year he'll make the AFC Championship game. Who knows? But I mean, they're a good team.
Hey,
They're young.
that's a great conversation. What do they need to make the AFC Championship? Like, what is this Chargers team objectively coming into the season? Everybody thought this is their year. Of course, we've thought that for the last 6 years.
Yeah.
But like, what are they genuinely missing? They got a quarterback. Everybody believes. I mean, I think he's good, but is he that top level?
There are a few things. I think they could use more of an interior presence on their defensive line. That's something that heading into last year's draft, everybody had like Jordan Davis going to the Chargers, and they ended up taking offensive lineman Zion Johnson. This guy I also really like, but they just didn't really address it that much in the draft, and I think that's an area they could improve. I think the offensive line, like I love Rashawn Slater, I love Zion Johnson. I love a lot of what they have there, but they do have a few holes that they can patch up. I think they need some younger, more high upside playmakers on offense too. I like Mike Williams. I love Keenan Allen as like a player historically.
What is
but
he? 30 years old, 31 years old now, right?
He's getting older. He's had some injuries. I mean, I really do think that Herbert could use a Justin Jefferson level guy.
Oh,
You know, I mean,
well,
anybody could use a
Kirk
Justin.
Cousins can use him.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson isn't the greatest. I mean, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL, but
Yeah.
he, you know, maybe a Amon-Ra St. Brown type of guy. You know, just a like a really good, reliable receiver. He doesn't. I don't think he has to be a downfield threat. I think you have that in Mike Williams. He could be, but
So you bring up an interesting point. It's something that I didn't think about till now, but like we talk about what do the Chargers need, and it seems like they're so close right now. But Mike Williams is 30; he's going to be 31 next year. Austin Eckler for a running back is getting older; is 28 or 29, and the style of play he has, he'll
he's
go
tiny.
faster than Henry. You know, like
He's
Derrick
tiny.
Henry can last probably another year or two than Eckler should.
I didn't think.
And
I
believe
didn't
they're
think.
the same age.
I didn't think Eckler would make it past this year. I like to be honest with you. I thought Eckler was going to get banged up this year just because that's what happens to running backs his size. It's honestly kind of remarkable. You know, Kyler Murray kind of has this thing like where even though he's small, he doesn't. He has this thing about him where he avoids hard contact like really well. Like he never gets hit. And Eckler doesn't. I mean, Eckler gets hit, but not nearly as often as a lot of other running backs. So maybe his shelf life is like a year.
I sort of see him go down like an armadillo, like they ball up a little bit
Yeah,
to like cushion the blow.
Yeah, or they'll just like they'll stop at the last second and like let the guy kind of run by him and pull him into pull him out of bounds, you know, instead of just smashing him out of bounds like, you know, a Derrick Henry or Ezekiel Elliott might do. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. The Chargers, I think they're a little further away than a lot of people do. I don't know what their cap situation is right now. I don't know if they have the tools. I mean, with getting Khalil Mack, Joey Bosa, I'm sure. Have they extended him yet? I don't know. I don't know the contract situations on the Chargers. I'll have to look into that. But nah, I think they're close, but there's still some glaring holes on that team that I think need to be addressed before they're like true contenders. Of course, I said that about the Bengals last year. I mean, that offensive line was awful last year on paper, and they made it to the Super Bowl. So maybe this is the year for the Chargers, but I think the Jags are a tough matchup right now. It just feels like everything is going the Jags' way. And
Let's talk about their coach too. We talked about Staley having his, you know, reason to really like him and maybe not like him, but like Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl. Doug Peterson won it with Nick Foles and Carson Wentz, and now we're seeing like, was that a kind of a low-key miracle to have done? And now he has Trevor Lawrence, who everybody is still pretty much believing is going to be the best quarterback out of his draft class after 10 years.
I think Doug Peterson got scapegoated out of Philadelphia, dude. I've always thought Doug Peterson was a pretty good coach.
That's tough to say too, though, because they're objectively better again.
Yeah, but they
got lucky with Hurts though, because they didn't even want to say that it was Hurts. They tried so hard not to let it be Jalen Hurts for the first year and a half.
And there is a massive difference between 2022 Jalen Hurts and what was it, 2018, 2019 Carson Wentz? Like giant chasm of talent. Like
well, and the receiving core this year, 1,000 times better. Miles Sanders is more mature, much better running back. The defense is probably one of the best. We're not supposed to be talking about the Eagles right now.
Best offensive line in the NFL too. Aside from that, that's all I'll say about Doug Peterson. But I just, you know, there's a part of me that always wants to play the contrarian and say, since it feels like the entire country is going towards the Jags, like it really does, for a game that is more of like a 50-50 toss-up, it feels like the Jags have the narrative, they have the momentum, they have the public behind them. It really feels like one of those spots where everybody's going to be let down and the Chargers are going to win it, which I would be okay with because I like the,
I was just gonna say, gambling concept number one is a lot of times, I won't say always, but a lot of times the public loses when you see the public on something. Now, what we're not talking about obviously is we don't know if that's a reverse line movement, as in is 80% of the public on the Chargers, but all the money on the Jags. that's where you want to be. If
Right.
that's the reality. Like if, and we could go and find that. I haven't pulled that up. Didn't think about it, but of course I didn't even know the line moved that far until this morning. When I saw it and actually took it, it was 2.5. But yeah, if you see an instance where 60, 70, 80% of the money is on a team and 60, 70, 80% of the individual tickets are on a team, that means a lot of times the public is looking at a letdown.
Yeah.
TCU was a great example of that the other night. They had a lot of the tickets and then the late money I think came in on Georgia. The sharp money came in on Georgia.
Yeah, yeah. That man, that seems crazy to me that so many people were putting in on TCU. That just seems so
it's
wild.
this story.
Yeah.
And you saw. I know nobody's following. We post picks daily on Twitter, and engage with the tweets. We'll give you the picks for free in a DM right now. And
yeah. For now.
Yeah. While we get established and get things rolling. But
right.
But I want to say I know there were people who were let down that day when I didn't have anything on the national championship game. There was not a thing. I probably leaned over. I leaned Georgia just because I started to see a lot of stats. Like TCU was kind of like the Vikings, 6 wins of under 7 or 6 points.
A lot of comebacks. A lot of
comebacks.
Yeah.
It's really hard to do that in a high pressure game against a team like Georgia. So that's the case here too, though. We have a game, like you said, it's a 50-50 Jags-Chargers. Everybody's hoping thinking this will be the best game. I think it will be the most competitive game. But the reality of it is the Chargers have a bad run defense. If the Jaguars get up 10 points in the first or second quarter, do you think it turns out to be a close game, or do you think it's just the Jags run away with it?
I don't see a runaway happening in this game. I don't think the Jags have the juice on offense to like really blow out the Vikings or not the Vikings. I'm sorry, the Chargers.
And Marvin Jones,
Zay Jones, the Jones brothers.
Hey, but Zay Jones looks dirty.
Has anybody
Zay
ever?
Jones the last 2 years has been like, oh yeah, this is college Zay Jones.
Yeah, except that one game where he dropped like 8 passes in a row or something like that. But has anybody ever called Marvin and Zay the Jones brothers? Anybody
Jones
ever?
Bros.
Yeah. Jones.
It seems like they would open a bagel shop together in a small town, like Jones Bros Bagels.
You could call Jones and Kirk the law firm 2.0.
Oh, that's a good law firm.
Yeah, Jones and Kirk. But
maybe CPAs though.
Yeah, what was there was the running back? I think he was from Ole Miss too. A few years ago for the Patriots, whose nickname was like the law firm. I forget what his name was though.
There's a group. I think it's a defensive group. It's called the law firm in the NFL right now.
Is it
like people?
It's just, that's such a. At this point, I almost feel like that's cliche to do the law.
It really is. It's like, oh, you have somewhat fancy names.
Yeah,
like you have like mostly normal last names, and then like one weird one like Schwartz.
Yeah, it's like one syllable.
Wasn't the right way to say that.
Yeah, but I think they work best when it's like one syllable, 2 or 3 syllables, like Jones, and Peterson. Like that's a pretty good one.
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, is that the one you were?
Ben Jarvis Green Ellis, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Did he go to? He played at Indiana and Ole Miss. Okay.
Yeah, I remember he was from Ole Miss.
That's funny.
Yeah, but I'm taking the Jaguars here. I think just not as like a bet or anything, but just as a general pick. Would you, if you're betting this, would you take the points or would you try to bet on the money line for the Jaguars?
Well, I do. I would say I've already posted out this one. We did the NFL playoff stuff for free on Twitter already earlier this week, and we're on Jaguars plus 2.5. Let me pull up my sheet here to make sure I get all the figures right.
But what I'm saying is now that the line has moved to 1.5, I would be just tempted to just take them on the money line.
Yeah, and that's a common temptation because everybody thinks like, oh, how many games are decided by 1 point? Well, not a significant. To be honest with you, like when you bet it, it happens.
Yeah, and it's not an insignificant amount, right? Like if that happens 10% of the time, that's 10% of those games that you're going to be losing, right?
At 1.5, yeah, that changes your whole. That takes you from, if you're a 65% winner, you now go down to 55.
Right,
and that's losing money.
Right.
So I would, eh, I would probably at this point I would probably stay away just from the game altogether because it opened at 3, and I'm a little skeptical of things like that. I
Yeah.
would have to do a little more research. If I still Saturday morning, I'm like I gotta fire off a 1 unit bet here. I'll probably take the money line because I genuinely like I have them as a 3-point winner.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I think the home field's going to come into play. I think Jacksonville is going to be rowdy. Um, if I saw some videos from the stands in when they played Tennessee last week. Was it Tennessee they just beat? And they're fired up for this. They're ready to play the Chargers. They're ready to host a home game in the playoffs. And I genuinely think that they have because a lot of their talent is young. They don't know what they don't know yet, and they can be one of those teams that kind of comes in and just runs hot for a couple games here, and we might see them playing in the AFC Championship game.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
We will not see the Chargers in the AFC Championship game.
You don't think so? You don't think they could make a run?
Really? I know for sure that they can't. I know. I can't even. They'll if they win this week, good for them. But all you're doing is cost yourself draft capital at this point.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with you on that. I don't know if I would say like I'm not gonna say that there's never a team that gets into the playoffs where I'm just like, okay, this team cannot make it to the Super Bowl or to the championship game or something. Because there are, and I kind of have one team this year where I don't think it's going to happen, at least the Super Bowl. But I don't think the Chargers are one of them. I think I can see them making a run. I think anytime you have a quarterback as good as Justin Herbert, I think you've got a shot.
Is he that good?
He's pretty good. I mean, at least for stretches of his career, he's looked like one of the 3 best quarterbacks.
He's he makes some of the greatest throws if you isolate him, but he also makes some bonehead mistakes from time to time.
Yeah.
And
you could say the same thing about Josh Allen, though.
I do say the same thing about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
I mean,
even Patrick Mahomes, he's had some games, man, where he had.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is probably the best quarterback in the AFC, and everybody acts like this is some crazy thing. And I was just going to make a point.
Yeah,
like I know that. So everybody thinks Joe Burrow is one of the best quarterbacks, but I'm saying he's probably the best quarterback in the AFC. I'm not ready to hang my hat on that. I'm just simply saying that you can look at Mahomes' issues, Allen's issues, Herbert's issues. Trevor Lawrence is still getting there.
Yeah.
But you mentioned how bad the Bengals offensive line was last year and how they kind of really surprised you. Think about how many times Tom Brady's Patriots had that coming into the season. And it's a quarterback who learns how to coach up his offensive line. It's a quarterback who learns how to work with what he's given and overcome obstacles. When Rashawn Slater has a bad game, Justin Herbert has a bad game. And I don't see Herbert making his team that much better like Burrow does. Can we talk about how the Bengals are healthier? Sure. Can we talk about how the Bengals probably have better, younger receivers than Higgins and Chase? Absolutely. Because as much as I like Allen and Herbert, they're better. Mixon and Eckler are probably a trade-off. They have different talents. They're used different ways.
Yeah,
I think it comes down to defenses. I think the Bengals are obviously better, but
I think Joe Mixon's the most overrated running back in the NFL. I don't think he's that good at all. But I
this year he's a plotter.
Yeah. He did have the 5 touchdown, 200-yard game. So I guess he's
Carolina one game. Yeah. It's like who was the guy? Gaskin. Did Gaskin do that for the Dolphins 1 or 2 years ago, or was it? It was one of those guys who had 2 or 3 really good 4 touchdown games.
Yeah, Myles Gaskin had a stretch.
Doesn't even have a starting job next year.
Right. That's not Mixon. Mixon has been an established starter.
He's a starter.
Yeah, in the NFL. But I don't know. A lot of people talk about him as he's one of the top 5 running backs in the NFL. I don't think he's that.
No, easily not.
Maybe top 12. Maybe.
He's a starting NFL running back.
Yeah.
He's better.
But anyway, we're talking about the Bengals. Final word on the Jags Chargers. I would say I'm taking the Jags reluctantly. I think that I'm a little higher on the Chargers than you are, I think. But I do think that the Jags. I think Trevor Lawrence has kind of arrived, and that's who I'm going to take. And I think you're
A
kind of
Riven? He's a Riven.
yeah, a Riven. Yeah.
Well, the reality of it is if the Chargers win this game, okay, this is genuine. Like we can go through all the matchups, but the Chargers are going to have to play the Chiefs in Kansas City.
Not if Baltimore or Miami win. I don't want to spoil the next few picks, Casey. I don't want to do that.
So okay, yeah, all right. The Bills will be hosting a game, and the Bengals will be hosting, or not the Bengals, the Chargers will be hosting a game. I'll Baltimore. Hey, look, maybe, maybe. I don't think
they can win a game. They can win a game 6-3.
Okay,
Casey.
okay. So if the Chargers don't play the Chiefs in Kansas City, they're going to Buffalo or Cincinnati. There's no. I mean, let's just say it the way it is. There's no way all three division winners lose in the AFC. Is that a possibility to you? We see 3 wild card winners.
No.
Sub 0% chance.
Yeah, that's very, very, very low. But I mean, but if you look at it from that perspective, I mean, any team that's going into Kansas City or Buffalo is going to look like a crazy underdog, right?
They will, but Jacksonville can win in Kansas City, I think. And maybe not Buffalo. I think they can go to Kansas City and win the game.
Maybe. I mean, in the playoffs against Mahomes, I don't know if I don't see, like, in my mind, I don't see any meaningful reason why they could do it and the Chargers couldn't.
I think just the overall health and overall talent, because I feel like the talent on the Chargers team is isolated to a few individuals. You lose Joey Bosa, or you lose some of the secondary guys.
Derwin James, Asante Samuel.
Austin Eckler sprains his ankle. What happens? If Mike Williams can't suit up Saturday, what happens?
With Austin Eckler, I don't think running back is all that important. So I think they could probably survive.
Well, not for this Chargers team, because they don't even hand the ball off.
Yeah.
They just screen pass it all day long.
Yeah. But, I mean, Austin, he is the best at that, you know.
Yeah, he's fantastic. And he can do it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I see it. I said what I said. The Jaguars are going to win the game. The Jaguars have the best shot at upsetting a team. I will say the Chargers have the best chance of the 3 wildcard teams, just given that their quarterback is definitely playing.
Yeah.
I hate it that Mike Williams is injured, but I just don't.
Just
if he was healthy,
just
a
general point on that. Is this the worst, like, opening round of the playoffs, like, quarterback play? Like, the quarterbacks in the opening round are just, some of the matchups are just brutal, man.
The NFC looks a lot better.
Like, you might get Tyler Huntley in Cincinnati, Baltimore. Do we have any word on Lamar?
Is it going to be Huntley?
I don't know if we have any word on Lamar yet. He
tweeted today that he still has inflammation and his knee is unstable. He tweeted today. That's Friday morning.
Yeah, that's
not ideal.
Not great. You have Skylar Thompson in Miami, probably. You have, I mean, I know Geno's had a good year, but you have Geno Smith in Seattle, which, whatever. You have Brock in San Francisco, who I think looks pretty good, but he's still literally Mr. Irrelevant as a rookie playing in his first playoff game. I mean, that's kind of wild.
Yeah, it doesn't have the name brand power that you're looking for.
Yeah, Daniel Jones is crap. I mean, he's been better recently, but he's still just super
We didn't
mad.
come prepared for this talk. We're talking about this like it's a definite, this is the worst of the matchups, but we could easily go back 5 years, 10 years and probably see similar stuff. Like, Manning wasn't always playing Brady in round 1.
Yeah,
it wasn't
that's
always
true.
Brees and Rodgers.
They
were playing. At the time, nobody believed in Fitzpatrick. Brady probably had a Fitzpatrick wild card. He probably had a Mark Sanchez wild card. Oh my gosh, what a game that was! Yeah. And I love Mark Sanchez the individual, but
yeah, that's true.
Those USC quarterbacks struggle, man.
But even Mark Sanchez, like you said, he kind of had like the name brand thing going on. Whereas like Geno Smith versus Brock Purdy, I mean, Skylar Thompson,
Trevor Lawrence versus Justin Herbert does have the sex appeal that we're looking for in a quarterback matchup.
Yeah,
that sounds weird to say, and I don't mean it like how the ladies probably think, but
you do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, well, it's something about those long haired dudes, man.
Yeah. Casey.
Um, yeah, I will say the NFC looks a lot better from a quarterback matchup perspective, though. In general, versus the AFC, we don't have pure backups. But let's also talk about the reality of why we have this situation this year. We've added a week to the season. We didn't add a bye week. We've continued these pointless, terrible Thursday night games, and um, we've added a team to the playoffs. Like without Team 7 here, what are we looking at? We're looking at
You lose
no Dolphins.
Skylar and you lose
Yeah,
Gino. So that automatically looks much better. People are gonna hate me for talking about Gino this badly, but I don't care. I just I don't believe in Gino. I think early season Gino, like the first half of the season, he was great. That was awesome, fun ride. Second half
you also
Gino,
give
huh?
you would also give the Bills and the 49ers a bye week. I'm just now realizing, like, how powerful would that be for those two teams right now?
Oh yeah, that is one thing. I kind of wish the NFL would just go to 8 teams and take out the bye weeks. But I don't want to get off on that tangent. But
Yeah, let's not do that. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, that's okay. It's my fault. But let's move on to the next matchup because that matchup might be a video in of itself to edit. We went so long on that, I think. But anyways,
We did, and I think that's fine.
yeah, whatever. Um, but okay, the next matchup: Bengals versus Baltimore. Well, we just read the tweet from Lamar Jackson saying that his knee is still really not good. So, I don't think there's any way that I could pick anyone other than Cincinnati here. I just Tyler Huntley,
No.
a banged up dude. The Ravens, man. The past 2 seasons, I've come into the season and I've looked at their roster and I've been like, this team is so good. Like this team is going to be so freaking good. And by week 8, like everybody on their team is hurt. Everybody. Like it just sucks so bad because I think this team has so much upside. I look the draft that they had this past year was one of my favorite drafts I've ever watched. I mean, they got Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, both of whom look awesome. They got David Ajabo, who was like one of the best edge rushers in the class, but the only reason he dropped was because of the ACL tear. They got Travis Jones, one of the best interior linemen in the class. Daniel Falele. They got a couple tight ends that I really like. Charlie Kolar, Isaiah Likely, Jalen Armour Davis, an incredible cornerback prospect. Like that draft was so good, and they just can't stay healthy, man. They just can't do it, and it's kind of predictable because of Lamar's play style, but it's not just him; it's everybody else too.
I traded him in my dynasty league last year. I came back into a league, and I love Lamar Jackson. And we're supposed to be talking about the matchup, but I was going to tell you that. Why don't we talk a little bit about this team for a second? Because you're talking about all the great things the front office has done with the draft. I'm over here thinking about the Roquan Smith trade was huge for them this season.
Yep.
Because even though things were not going ideal, they're still playing to win, right? They easily could have laid down when Jackson started to kind of and I can't remember the week he got hurt, but they picked up Smith kind of late, and they were a middling. They were leading the division, but they were probably 1 or 2 games above 500. But Lamar Jackson, like this is either the worst case that he's gotten injured and has missed so many games, or it's the best case because he's missed games and it's an injury he can easily recover from. He didn't snap an ACL. He didn't. It's not some like skill-altering, life-altering injury. It's just like a lingering issue. He can overcome it with rest, like significant rest. On a guy who was trying to get a contract fully guaranteed, like Watson got it with Cleveland. Is this the way the season's played out? Is it good for him, bad for him, and is it good or bad for the front office? Like, what do you do with this team if you don't have Lamar Jackson next year?
It is a nightmare for both sides because now, okay, God, what a complicated situation this is. So Lamar Jackson turns down the $250 million contract extension offer at the beginning of the season, right? He's betting on himself. He comes in, starts the year, is playing pretty good, then gets hurt. if you're the front office, the first thing your mind goes to is like, okay, we can save money now. Like, we can approach it, but nothing's gotten done. Like, it seems like Lamar is kind of sticking to his guns. He wants to fully guarantee the big Deshaun Watson long-term extension. But now, at this point, the front office is like, there's no way that's happening. Because, I mean, you've kind of proven that at best it's going to be a roller coaster with you health-wise. And at worst, at some point in the next 3 years, you're going to get a career ender. And we're going to be stuck paying you a ridiculous amount of money. It's going to tank the franchise. I don't know how they resolve this. I think that it's either going to be Lamar bending to them and him getting a more modest contract. Still ridiculous money, but maybe not like the highest paid quarterback in the league kind of money.
But he wants fully guaranteed is all. And I think he realizes it's because of his play style. You've got to have fully guaranteed.
Yeah, but I don't think he's going to get it. I don't see how, if you're the Ravens, you can guarantee, even if it's just like $220 million. I don't see how you can do that. Just because just because of the immense risk of strapping your cap for the next like 8 years.
I wouldn't want to be. I mean, you would want to be the guy who drafted Jackson. You would want to be Harbaugh here, who's his coach. You would want to be a Ravens fan here with a guy like Lamar Jackson, because he might not be the best quarterback in the traditional sense, but if he plays, this matchup looks totally different against the Bengals.
100%.
This rivalry is a big deal. The fact that they're division foes, they've played twice this year, especially if he'd have played in both of those games, I would be really leaning towards like this is more of a 50-50 game than the Chargers game was, but it's not.
I think if Lamar Jackson stays healthy, they're the 3 seed. I think.
Yeah. I think in fact, they had a shot at the division here in the last week still. I mean, without Lamar Jackson. That's how good this team really is.
Yeah.
And in week 6, it's hard to see that when you see a team that maybe 3-3 that you thought was going to run the table. It's like, a lot of teams go 3-3 and then win 5 straight. Now all of a sudden they look like what everyone thought, or vice versa.
Right. But I just, with Tyler Huntley, I mean, we've seen, me and you have been talking about it the past few weeks. It's just like every time I see an under in a Ravens game, I'm just like, I just want to smash it, because their defense is still pretty good, even with the injuries, and their offense just cannot score at all. Like their offense has been just so bad with Tyler Huntley at the helm. And what are their past scores for like? Let me just take a look.
You pull that up, because I was going to look at
Ravens.
We have last week we took the under in the game and it went over. Thanks a lot, Bengals.
The Ravens. This is wild. The Ravens have scored 16, 13, 17, 3, 16, 10, 27, 13.
How many of those games did they win, too, though? That's what's wild.
I know. Okay, so they won 13-3. They won 10-9. They won 16-14. They won 17-9.
Hey, that 10-9, I was on the Broncos plus 10 points there. I just loved that.
So in their past 8 games, is that right? Yeah, their past 8 games, they have scored more than 20 points one time, and they're 4-4 somehow. They're 4-4, and they've scored more than 20 points one. They've scored more than 17 points one time. That is crazy. The fact that they didn't go 1-7 during that stretch is just wild to me.
Since the beginning of
and by the way, December, they lost the game where they did score 27 points. They lost to the Jaguars 28-27.
And Jackson played that game, didn't he?
Let me see. Yes, he did actually. Yeah, he did.
What a shame! Game. You get your QB back, and your defense finally gets to breathe. Jaguars had a couple games like that though. They're just a good team too.
Yeah, but this matchup is also a little easier because they literally just played last week, and the Bengals won 27-16. It was in Cincinnati, just like this game is going to be. So it's back to back. Oh, and Anthony Brown started that game, not Tyler Huntley. Why was I thinking
Yeah, yeah.
Huntley?
This game's gonna look. This has a different complexion. They rested Huntley there,
Oh, okay, okay,
or I
okay.
don't know if he was hurt. I didn't follow that game very closely. I saw
That's
Anthony Brown. I said under, and well,
clicked off.
you know. But I
Yeah,
was gonna tell you, since the beginning of December, they've played 6 games. We took the under 4 times, and it went 3-1.
yeah.
So the unders we avoided. So I have a tendency in the NFL, particularly whenever I'm making picks for other people. If I like a team to cover the spread and I like an over or an under, I'm only going to advise one way. So like if I'm going to post an official pick, very rarely. Now sometimes I might go, hey, like this week, like I lean over, but I like the Jaguars in that game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm not going to tell people, hey, take both. I'm going to say the Jags because what I absolutely hate doing is being in the fourth quarter and you have the under and you have the dog, but the dog needs a touchdown to cover and that's going to take it over. And so now you're just like, please don't have both bad things happen where they throw a pick
Right,
six here.
right.
Like
Yeah,
it because it's just so real in the NFL.
yeah. It happened every week almost in every game. Like you're gonna run
And
into a situation like that almost.
yeah, so and because the reality of it is as somebody who advises others for picks, and I've seen it happen too many times, they take them and they parlay them. They're like, oh, he has 2 units on the under and 2 units on the underdog, so I'm going to take both as a parlay. It's like, no, I didn't say that because that's bad. That's bad money management. You're going to be a long term loser that way. I think you go with your best bet when it comes to football on a game.
Okay,
Basketball different.
so speaking of the line,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the most updated odds. I see right here it says Cincinnati minus 8.5. Is that correct?
That
Or is it?
sounds right, and I'm gonna pull up where we opened. This game has a really interesting. Here we go. Of course, Cincinnati is
My guess is that it's
nine
moved.
and a half now, and the over under is 40.5.
Oh, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and say I kind of love the Ravens at plus 9.5. I kind of love that bet because the over under, I'd have to think about it a little because I do think that Cincinnati could score a lot in this game. But I love the rate. I think the most likely scenario is that this is a game that is where both teams are scoring like 24 points or less. Like both teams are kind of in that range where it could be like a 20-17 game or something like that. And it is insanely hard to cover 9.5 points in a low scoring game. Like that is just incredibly hard to do. Um,
I will say, I said that about not taking two things like an over and a spread. I did take the Chiefs minus 9.5 and an under 2 or 3 weeks ago, and against Seattle, and both came to fruition. Um, but if you go back like the entire Andy Reid era, for some reason the Chiefs home games go under at like a alarming rate. It's like they just get up at home and they just ride it. The crowd
yeah.
carries them home, and I don't know why. It's weird because on the road it's kind of 50-50, but
Mm.
um, yeah, I'll say we took I've again free picks this week on Twitter already. We do have the Ravens +2 or not Ravens +2, but Ravens under here as
Okay,
a
so
2 unit play.
we took the under in this matchup.
We
So
took it at 41.
okay, okay. Well,
I,
I like that. I do.
I
If
do think 9.5 is
intuitively,
too many points now. It opened at 5.5, and I was hesitant. And now that I look at it, I'm like, yeah.
not
Think about John Harbaugh. How long has he been the head coach of this Baltimore Ravens team? And think about how good of a coach he is.
yeah,
Um, I think you play Anthony Brown last week, you get beat, whatever. You had no shot at the division title anyways because of the way the adjustment was made, and that is what it is. We can't change that. Um, but I think a team like John Harbaugh looks at he still played a lot of his defense. He still sees what the Bengals do to them. I think he probably makes an adjustment that says we're going to run this football. We're going to kind of think about like the Titans games where they've been down 3 scores and it's the middle of the third quarter and they're still handing it off up the middle to Henry, and you're like, well, I want you to throw the ball. But then Henry busts some plays.
Yeah.
I think that they're going to use their running back duo if Dobbins is healthy, Dobbins and Edwards in that manner where they're just going to stay committed. They're going to go and go and go and go. And I think after enough reps, I think Dobbins is one of the better. I'm not going to say like one of the best running backs. I really like Dobbins as a running back in the NFL. He is a great athlete. He's a downhill runner, and he's not gonna. If he wasn't injured, I think we're talking about him being a top 5 rushing yards guy, especially this year without Jackson under center for most of the year or for a lot of the year.
Okay, Casey, here is a stat that makes me just want to absolutely shove Ravens plus 9.5.
Don't do that.
No. I'm not. They have lost. They've played 17 games this year. They have lost one game by more than 9.5 this year. One game, and it was the Week 18 game against the Bengals where they were starting Anthony Brown. Every other game, they've either won or they have been within 9.5 points. That. Oh wait, no. I take that back. There has been one game, and it was the Browns game, the Week 15 Browns game. Yeah, they lost by 10 in that game. Okay, so 9.5 is just a ton against this Ravens team. It just seems so unlikely to happen.
Especially when, like you said, you got 41 points to work with. So what does a 9.5 point win look like?
Yeah,
that's 21-13.
Yeah.
Is it? Nope, that's not it. So it'd be 21-11 or 12. 11 or 12 are rare numbers, so let's call it 21-10.
Yeah.
So then what happens if they kick a field goal and they get 13 points, which is within reason, a touchdown and 2 field goals? You now need 22 points, and you're going to – nope, you need 23, and you're going to be less than a touchdown and less than a field goal. No, it's a touchdown away from the over-under. So it just there's a really thin margin for error. You really need the Ravens to score 13 or less. And yeah, they've done it a lot. But then you would also need the Bengals to score more than 21 and have the Ravens giving up more than 21 a lot.
I'll say this, if the Bengals want to cover 9.5, I don't think they need to let the Ravens score a touchdown. If the Ravens score a touchdown, it's going to be hard to cover that. Because they're going to get a couple field goals with Justin Tucker on top of it.
Yeah, you don't even have to go that far.
Yeah, like, I mean, and teams just don't score that much against the Ravens. This defense has been really, really, really good. Like, better than I thought, you know.
Let's talk running game for a second.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off there, but this has just been screaming at me since we got back to looking at this matchup. When I looked at it and analyzed it, it was 5.5 points. And my numbers, so there's a trend in the NFL. If a team rushes for 30 yards more than the other team in a game, then they have covered the spread 75% of the time. It's a really hard stat to project, but I've been working on this calculator. You know that really will tell me what I genuinely project for rushing yards for the team, but also like a final score for the team. It's been somewhat accurate. I had the game when I ran the calculator, excuse me, I had the Ravens outrushing the Bengals by 40 yards. So I took a note, hey, that's a potential for one of these situations. There's no guaranteed fact. Obviously things change, but it was a potential. But I also had them losing by 9 points exactly. Well, now this moves, the spread moves it into the window.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm probably saying that we might add a 1-unit play here come time. But again, we've already posted the under. We're probably just going to ride the under. If I did it, it would be 2 on the under and 1 on the spread.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
But if you're just looking for action, I think you can't go wrong with the Ravens here.
Right. Yeah. If you're wanting to do something outside of, the system or whatever, I think Ravens plus 9 is a pretty good way to go. And watch them get beat by 40
God,
Saturday.
It's gonna be terrible.
The first
the Bengals
video,
will cover the over/under by themselves here.
yeah. The first
Or
video we put on
it'll be
YouTube is like
41-35 for some reason. It'll be like, what did you guys? What happened here?
I feel obligated to say that, so in case that eventuality does occur, that at least we covered ourselves with like being self-aware, you know.
The NFL is absolutely a beast.
Yeah, it really is.
Like crazy things happen. Player gets injured here. Joe Burrow goes down on the first play. You might see a Ravens money line victory.
Yep. Okay. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Buffalo at Miami, and this is another one. Golly, what Jacksonville and the Chargers to be such great matchups. Man, I think Cincinnati's going to win. You know, that game might be a little better. You know, I just spent like a whole bunch of time arguing for the Ravens plus 9.5, so I don't want to call that a snoozer. But Buffalo, Miami, I feel like this is going to be a total snoozer. I feel like Buffalo is going to go in and just absolutely skull drag the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson. I don't think it's going to even be a thing. It's not even going to resemble football. It's just going to be like I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the good things about the Miami Dolphins before we go into so we're both in agreement. Like just first glance when we look at it, this is a Bills victory.
Yeah,
it's win another one for DeMar here. They should have had the bye week probably mentality for some of these guys. I know. There's a lot of folks, and we absolutely hated seeing what happened to DeMar Hamlin.
Top 3 things about the Miami Dolphins. Okay, they have pretty uniforms, fast wide receivers, and South Beach is kind of cool. And top 5 things. I'll also throw. I really like Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher. I like Jalen Phillips a lot. He's cool.
They have one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. He's not the best, but he's one of the better ones.
He hasn't been that great this year, I don't think. Xavier Howard?
Yeah, let's see.
What's his PFF grade right now?
That's what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
That's hilarious. He is a C+ this year. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's was that this year?
Yeah, I'm usually pretty tapped
PFF
to the PFF grades.
PFF says Xavier Howard has been the best cornerback in the NFL over the past 2 seasons when lined up in press coverage.
Wow, 58.4 this year. That's wild because last year, what was Xavier Howard? He was a 70 last year, and the year before that he was an 87. So he has kind of been in a decline.
Age is a son of a gun, isn't it?
It really is.
And he's not even old. It's just like it happens.
Yeah. I mean, he's almost 30, which, you know, in the NFL, I mean, he might as well be in a file for the AARP. I mean, it's pretty old for the NFL. But, you know.
Hey, you can get 6-1 on your money, though, if you take the Dolphins to win this ball game.
Man.
I'm not saying you should. I'm saying you can.
Yeah. Just think about it, man. If you put, like, $10,000, your last $10,000 on the Dolphins, and that miracle happens, your life is like, I don't know, like 20% better at that point.
I mean,
maybe
you have
$30,000.
$60,000. It's not life changing.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's not going to be like, yeah. It's just honestly, it's just kind of cool, you know. Like you had a 6-1 on a big bet.
Yeah,
your life really isn't even that
there's
better.
Better 6. How about this? Okay, we have props. We're gonna talk about props later in the show.
Honestly, 6-1 feels low. I don't think.
I was just gonna say you get better odds on Travis Etienne to be the NFL rushing leader this week.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
6.5.
Yeah, 6-1.
What's more likely to happen? And I will say we don't know what we don't know about Skylar Thompson yet.
Yeah,
Can he be good?
I mean, we've seen him some.
How many games has he played this year?
Hadn't he started like 3 or 4 games, something like that? I may be wrong.
I'm
not.
We saw Bridgewater this year.
Skylar Thompson stats. Skylar has Start. Oh, okay. No, you're right. He hasn't started. What was I thinking? Oh wait, no. Yeah, he has. Yes, he has.
Did
That
he play last week?
he has started
One game.
in. Why isn't it giving me?
Okay.
He
Here's his
started
full
two
stats. I got it right
games.
here.
2 games. Played in 7.
So what were the 2 games he started?
He started in
Last
my
week.
week 6 versus Minnesota, and then week 18 versus the Jets. But he played significant time in week 5 against the Jets and in week 17 versus New England.
All right. So let's just say if they win the game, is Skylar Thompson the dude? Like, is he like the new Ryan Fitzpatrick or Nick Foles for like the next year or two, where everybody's gonna be like, wait a minute, now they have a backup here?
No, probably not.
No,
Probably not.
All right. If he beats the Bills, do we feel pride for him, or do we feel really bad for the Bills?
Honestly, I'd still feel kind of embarrassed for him because you're still Skylar Thompson.
So messed up. All right,
No,
you're
I'm
Skylar
kidding.
Thompson.
Yeah.
You're Skylar Thompson, who threw for 7,000 yards in college, 2,000-yard passing seasons, which isn't wild.
God.
He's only his most TDs he ever threw in an NFL in an NCAA season for a Big 12 team who loves to pass the ball is 12 touchdowns. I can't remember who was a running back for Kansas State in 19 and 2021, because I'm assuming that dude must have been.
I think it might have still. I think Deuce Vaughn was starting at that point. He's still there. I think.
He's a senior this year, Vaughn?
Yeah.
He probably did play last year.
Deuce Vaughn.
He's fun.
Dude, Deuce Vaughn, the 5'5" machine. I love Deuce Vaughn. Love
the Kansas
Deuce
State
Vaughn.
Austin Eckler.
Yeah. Or no, dude. He's Darren Sproles 2.0. Darren Sproles went to Kansas State too.
Did he really?
Yeah. With I remember his quarterback.
I'd love to see Deuce Vaughn returning kicks in the NFL.
Yeah, me too. I do you remember who the quarterback was at Kansas State whenever Darren Sproles was there? I do. It was L. Roberson. That was his name.
Roberson.
Yeah,
That's
I liked.
name right there.
I like. He was like kind of like a Vic, athletic dual threat type of dude. I liked
the
Kansas
Miami
State back in the
Dolphins
day.
draft Skylar Thompson. I'm like looking at his. I'm just. I didn't watch a lot of Kansas State football, but
Why not? He's great.
what? So he improved every year, right? 58%, 59%, 62%, 69% is his completion percentage, progressively improving. So I could see him having an 80% game against the Bills this weekend. Something like he throws 20 for 24 and 3 touchdowns. It's just a quarter of what he was able to accomplish in a single season in college.
Yeah.
Honestly,
I feel like Skylar Thompson could take the Dolphins and win a Super Bowl this year, and I still wouldn't want to be him because he's Skylar Thompson. He just sucks so bad at everything.
You've never met this man.
I'm just kidding. It sounds like I have some vendetta against Skylar Thompson. I don't. He could be great.
This is a characteristic trait of Cade, by the way. He does this sometimes.
Yes.
If you're actually watching this video, our first video we've ever recorded, then just know that this is Cade.
Well, I've had another channel before. I feel like a few people might come over from there, so they will be well aware of my idiocy.
Hey, I gotta correct something I said earlier. The Jags line is still 2.5 from what I'm seeing. I don't know why. I just looked at the ESPN number, said 1.5, but what I'm seeing here is still 2.5.
The money line is less
The Jags.
tempting. Yeah. Money line is less tempting at 2.5.
I mean, is it worth it if you're going to be $100 better? Is it worth it to win an extra $27 but lose 2.5 points? Like, I don't know,
dude. That is a pretty decent Pokemon card. $27. Like
I would argue that you should actually buy the hook up to 3, is what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or hope the late money comes on the Chargers and then hammer the Jags, whatever you feel like doing.
Yeah. 2.5. I'm always, not always, but a lot of times I'm in favor of that because 2.5 just feels like such a weird line.
Crap.
Yeah. It always feels like there's going to be that tie game. last minute field goal, overtime field goal that's going to end up ruining your day.
Well, you hate that. You hate the overtime field goal situation. What you want is a 6-point lead.
Yeah.
That's what you want. You want a 6-point lead in the fourth quarter because then it's like the other team can score still. We could kick a field goal. I don't care what happens. Just let it happen.
That's right. Yeah.
You don't want 7.
Right. Okay, but
right,
as far as the game goes, does Miami have any chance if Tua doesn't play? I don't think so.
You'll hear me say this if Tua plays. You'll hear me say this a lot though. That the calculator says, and the calculator says absolutely not. Even if Tua plays, they're going to lose by 10 points.
Whew.
That's what I have.
And the calculator is usually pretty conservative on that type of thing, isn't it? Like it's just the average. That's like the 50th percentile outcome.
It includes regression. It includes, everything I can think of to throw in there. It includes Vegas's intelligence. Now that's a new adjustment I made. I think I did it during week 18, which was a weird week. Some rules about football I have is don't bet a lot in weeks 1 through 3 and never bet week 18 unless you just know that it's weird.
Yeah. And Tua has already been ruled out for the game. So it is going to be, So,
which that's his saving grace is he knows he's playing.
Is it?
You know what I mean?
And Teddy is out too as well, right?
Yeah. We know it's Skylar
Teddy.
Thompson.
Yeah, we know it's Skylar. So, there's no chance, man. A good job, Miami, of getting into this game. Like you made the playoffs. That's a step up for you. You've had a rough go of it, and it looks like if Tua can, get healthy, maybe you might have a thing there. I didn't think he was going to be any good at all. So
after that first season, I didn't think he would make the jump.
Me neither. I was very impressed with Tua this year. I thought he was great.
And I was skeptical a little bit about Trevor Lawrence, although I felt like, and the reason I didn't think Tua would make the jump is because of injuries. Like I just thought you hate to hear it, and eventually you finally accept it as you like mature in your football knowledge. Is I used to think that people would always say, "Oh, he's injury prone." I'm like, that doesn't matter. It's all about skill. Y'all quit worrying. It's freak injuries. No, it's really not. I guess like it's the body tells us. For him, it is terrible concussions, and for other guys, it's persistent ACL tears or things like that.
By the way, this video is going to end up being like an hour long. Like the first video that we do, it's going to be kind of sick. I'm okay with that. That's fine with me. Watch time.
We'll have stuff to edit out, and
not really. We've been rolling. We've been rolling on here. Yeah. There's really not going to be a ton of editing on this video, probably.
So the AFC is done now, though. Basically, I mean, I want to say things that are nice about the Dolphins, other than good job getting here.
Pretty uniforms, dude. Pretty.
And
uniforms.
We'll probably talk other stuff in the when we break down we look back on the season, but there's stuff about the players on these teams that I did want to highlight, but I don't think it matters for the matchup sake. You've got Skylar Thompson, a guy who threw for 12 touchdowns at his best at Kansas State, 70% passer, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, but we don't know what we don't know. Could he come out here and be Brock Purdy?
No.
That's what you're hoping for.
No.
But it's not. Yeah. Cade says no. And
no,
Cade,
he can't.
Cade is only right like almost 55% of the time.
Yeah, he cannot. When I make definitive statements, I'm right at least 55%.
They have not officially ruled out Bridgewater. I'm sorry. Thompson remains likely to start.
Okay. So
but
definitely going to start.
Teddy Bridgewater was not seen throwing beyond 20 yards in Thursday's practice, but he did practice.
Okay. Well, if
That's not what you want when you have Tyreek Hill all under 20-yard passes.
Yeah.
Not what you're looking for.
If Teddy goes, maybe your odds go up to like 1%, maybe.
My last thought is, even though it's a bad situation for Jackson and the Ravens as far as the contract situation goes, there's a lot of teams I think will give him a guaranteed contract. Miami Dolphins make a lot of sense as one.
Yeah.
They make a lot of sense. If Tua decides to hang up his cleats, like I think he probably should, the business decision, the health decision should be the Andrew Luck decision here. And I hate it because he got such a promising career, but
yeah.
Hey, scary injuries, man.
Yeah, I disagree. I say go for it. Kill yourself if you're gonna.
See,
do it for the game. Do it for Madden.
I
As
was talking to a friend of mine recently, and the reason my defense of why Tua should not. I was saying there's a lot of guys that I would see that I would say, yeah, probably try to fight through and play, right? And then I know we want to like health is important and all that, but I would say a guy who maybe grew up poor, never had anything, and doesn't have a ton of prospects, like didn't really do great while he was in college. He just went for football, and maybe he doesn't have a good personality to get on TV. But like Tua as an analyst, you know, they love guys like him to come in and work for ESPN or Fox Sports or somebody like that. He has prospects outside of football to live a very fulfilled life. And that's why I would say, and he's already made a pretty good bit of money. I would say the business decision might be
just go ahead.
Be there for your family for the long term.
Call her a day, I guess. All right, let's
well, I quit football, man.
I didn't even start. I said, screw this. I'm going to play baseball.
I was 5-year-old playing flag football. I said, too many injuries out here, buddy. I got to hang up the cleats.
Yeah. All right. We're ending the video.